Good day, future RMTs. In this discussion, we are going to discuss water testing laboratory laws of the Philippines. Our learning outcomes are as follows. Number one is to discuss the water system in the Philippines, identify the sources of water contaminants and pollutants, and of course, to explain the pertinent laws and regulation on water supply. To start with, I would like to inform you that there are four major sources of water in the Philippines. Number one is the body of water, like this. We also have the dams. We also have the irrigation, and we also have the lakes. Okay, these are the sources of water in the Philippines. Okay, now who requires water supplies? These three pictures requires water supplies. The farmers, no, for irrigation purposes, commercial and industrial buildings, no? And of course, the households. All of these three categories consumes water. They requires water for the daily basis. Now, who are the providers of water? We have the NGOs or non-government organizations, which are the primary providers of our water. Okay. We also have the community-based organization, local government units, water district, large and small scale independent providers. What do we mean by water pollutants? Water pollutants can be a chemical, living organism, and due to human activities. Chemicals, no? Let's say for example, toxic waste. As you all know, no mining industry, meron yung mga toxic waste that is being passed to the body of water that becomes a chemical toxin. Living organism, like for example, bacteria, parasites, and viruses, can be a water pollutants. And of course, human activities. Recreational activities of the humans can also be the source of water pollutants. Okay? Take note that these physical and chemical pollutants or biological pollutants can change the quality of water from a good quality, well, of course, to becomes a worse quality of water. Now, there are categories of water pollutants such as microorganisms, which includes the bacteria, parasites, and viruses. Oxygen demanding waste, no, yung mga nagde-decompose. Water soluble in organic pollutants is also part of the water pollutants. Nutrients, oil, plastics, and pesticides can be a potential source of pollutants. Now, what other sources of pollutants is farming, business, and households. No, there is what we call Republic Act 9275. Now, what is with Republic Act 9275? It is commonly known as the Philippine Water Act of 2004. Okay, and the very purpose of this one is for the consistent protection, prevention, and revival of a good quality of water system in the Philippines. Okay, this law also is a comprehensive, give a comprehensive quality management policies in terms of water system or quality of water system for the consumption of individual, for the consumption of the people, because water is a essential need of an individual for survival. And the principle of this law states that the state, the Philippines, shall pursue a policy of economic growth in a manner consistent with the protection, preservation, and revival of our fresh, brackish, and marine water. To achieve this end, there should be a framework for sustainable development, and that is what we call the comprehensive water quality management policies. We also have what we call the Presidential Decree 856. This is also known as the Code on Sanitation of the Philippines. The purpose of this one is to promote healthy and safe consumption of water. Okay? And the overall execution of this presidential decree was vested to the Secretary of the Department of Health. Now, this is what we call the sanitation code. There are two types of examination that requires for the ensuring the safety and cleanliness and quality of water. What are those? Initial examination and periodic examination. What do we mean by initial examination and periodic examination? When we said initial examination, this includes the physical, chemical, and bacteriological examination of water. Take note, guys, as a medical technology student, as a medical technologist, there is what we call water testing laboratories. And in order for you to work on that kind of laboratory, you must have an appropriate training, workshop, and seminar for you to be eligible in performing the functions and responsibilities of a medical technologist in charge in assessing the quality of water. And those analysis or those activities in assessing the quality of water includes the physical, chemical, and bacteriological examination of water. In other words, that is the water testing. And you, as a medical technologist, will have a vital role, an important role in doing such thing. Okay? Initial testing is done for newly constructed water system. No? Examination of water for possible radioactive contamination should also be done. Why? Because radioactive isotopes can cause serious damage or serious problem to an individual. Thus, therefore, if that source of water is contaminated with radioactive contamination or radioactive substances, why do we have to use that source of water as the source of our water na kinukonsume natin? Fortunate enough, those who can afford sterilized water, distilled water, mineral water, no? They're fortunate. But how about those who cannot afford that? They have no choice but to consume water from that sources. And if that is contaminated with those pollutants or those contaminants, then how about the safety of them? You cannot say that's their choice because they are poor. No, because that's a basic needs. A basic needs must be accessible to all. Yun nga lang, no? That's a basic needs. But you have to pay for your water bill. Well, the payment that we are giving, that we are paying for water bill is for the maintenance din naman of our water system. So para sa atin din naman yun. That's the initial testing that is required for newly constructed water system. How about periodic examination? Okay? Periodic examination naman for water from existing sources is subjected for bacteriological examination. Okay? Conducted every 12 months or every year or often, much better. Okay? Again, the examination of water sources for possible contamination of radioactive must be done annually. In Section 13 of the law, this is what we call other protective measure. Ano yun? No one should take a bath. No one should wash clothes within the 25 diameter radius, no, of any sources of water is prohibited. Maliligo, could you imagine in a well, no? In a deep well, maliligo ka doon, din yung sources of water mo. No artesian deep well or shallow shall be constructed within 25 meters from any source of pollution. Bakit? Kasi yung water, di ba, napunta yan sa lupa. Yung artesian deep well, doon siya nakuha ng tubig. E di may contamination na. All right? And no radioactive sources or material shall be stored within 25 radius. 25 radius, no, from any source of water, drinking water, unless radioactive source is adequate and safe and close by proper shielding. Another thing is no person charged with the management of public water supply system shall permit any physical connection between its distribution, and that of any other water supply, unless the latter is regularly examined as its quality by those charged of the public supply to which connection is made. This is done to ensure that the water is potable, safe for consumption. The installation of booster pumps to boost water direct from the distribution line of the water supply where of low water pressure prevails is prohibited. Bakit? Bakit yung installation of booster pumps to boost water direct from the distribution line of water supply system is prohibited? Unfair yun eh. May lalakas dun sa isa hindi. Kung magbo-booster, dapat that will be benefited to all. Okay? We also have what we call Administrative Order number 31, series of 1979. And what is this? These are the rules and regulation governing the accreditation of water analysis laboratories. If you siguro naman napapansin nyo to, no? Before kayo makarating ng Lyceum, if you are coming from San Pablo, Santo Tomas, Tanawan, Malvar area, near Yazaki, there's what we call fast water laboratory. And that is an example of water analysis laboratory. Kung umiinom po kayo ng water in the drinking fountain in Lyceum, meron din po doon nakapaskil na water analysis result. And that is being governed by the Administrative Order 31, 1979. We also have what we call the 1976 National Water Code. This is also known as the Presidential Decree 1067, no? And this presidential decree created National Water Resources Council. Thank you very much, and I hope you learn about water testing laboratories law in the Philippines.